welcome back to another episode of the TO Show. Again, I appreciate everyone's comments, likes on the last episode. It was a very special episode, Masters Week. Hideki Matsuyama ended up winning. Great for him. First Japanese player ever to win a male player to win the Masters there. But this week we're going to move on to a somewhat similar sport, but a little bit. Some of you guys might like it a little bit better, a little bit more fast-paced, a little more upbeat. Before we dive into things, though, again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video if you guys are on YouTube. It really helps it go a long way. And again, guys, I appreciate everyone's subscribers and support over the past months since we've been going on this thing, and we're gonna keep chugging along. But here we go. So this week we have a very special guest with us, UAlbany softball player Katie Falotico. Thanks, Katie, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So again, let's dive into things here. So you guys had a lot of success over the past couple of seasons, and how's your guys' season going on so far? I know you guys have been going. You've been on some hot streaks and some cold streaks here, but how's the season been going so far?
Yeah, definitely. It's going well right now. It's definitely been a little bit of a bumpy road. The start of it was a little bit tough. Our first weekend had gotten canceled just because of COVID and everything. And to start, we're playing a more condensed season because of COVID as well. So we kind of just had to run with things. We also didn't get to play our normal Florida tournament in the warmth. So we've been playing inside to get ready, which is kind of tough when it translates onto the field. So the beginning was a little bit bumpy, but we're on the up right now. We just came back from Delaware State, four-game weekend. We swept. We feel really good right now. We're going into UMBC this weekend. I know everyone's really excited. It's going to be a big weekend for us, so hopefully we do well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome stuff. So with you guys starting off with a bunch of COVID, how's your team been able to deal with the COVID kind of ups and downs through the season? I know you guys are a very tight-knit group, but how have you guys been able to deal with that? Because you kind of just never know when, especially how guys small your team is that one person gets it, it almost can shut down the whole thing for each other. How have you guys been able to deal with that?
Yeah, it's definitely been tough. I think though, coming off of last season where our season got taken from us completely, I think that we're all kind of just grateful to have what we have right now, whatever we do get. And I think that the main focus of our team right now has just been resilience, and whatever's getting thrown at us, we're trying to stay positive, react positively, and in the end, the most resilient team is going to be the one that comes out on top. And I think that's what we're kind of holding on to right now. So even when things were going poorly and we're getting tough news after tough news, I think that now we're kind of seeing the positive sides of it, that we're getting to play and we're winning some games. So I think that we're feeling a lot better now.
That's awesome. Hopefully you guys can get hot into the tournament, and start making a run to that, NCAA tournament. Have you guys? So what has it been like playing in? You guys have been playing in a lot of those games, winning the America East and playing in the NCAA and playing these big top-notch like Oregon and Texas and Oklahoma and all these big-time schools. How cool is it to be played against the top of the top of in your guys' field?
Yeah, so my freshman year was the year that we won the America East tournament. We got to go to the NCAA tournament, and it was very surreal. Just coming from Albany and the conference that we're in, it's obviously not as big of a scale. So being able to go and play Oregon, that big platform was very, very different, but a really cool experience. Something that I hope that every player that gets to come through this program gets to experience. And I know that most players that have come through have been able to. And it's just different, and it's very rewarding as well. It kind of puts this meaning to winning the conference tournament, that you get to go and experience this, and everyone wants a shot at the NCAA tournament, or just to be there is really a blessing. So it was really cool and just an awesome experience.
What have you guys learned from playing those big top schools? What have you guys taken from them and taken from those games? Because us, we played Montana State last year, and we got beat pretty bad in our second in the second round of the NCAA tournaments, and we learned a lot from our game, what we need to do to get to where those teams are. What have you guys learned from playing those big time schools?
Well, when we played Oregon, it actually was not that it was a close game, but we definitely competed for the level of play that they're at and where where we were coming from. But I think that a major lesson is just that softball is a game where anyone can win on any given day. So I think that we kind of went into playing Oregon like we have nothing to lose. We're not predicted to win. You know, they're the number one seed in the tournament. And it really helped us. We felt very relaxed, and I think that we kind of proved to ourselves that we can compete at this higher level. And it really doesn't matter who's on the field and the school on their jersey. At the end of the day, it's a game, and anyone can come out on top. And I think that was a really comforting feeling for a lot of people.
I bet. I mean, it's also kind of nice to have that, like, you know, they might be the big time school, but knowing that, hey, like, we can compete with these guys. Like, you know, we might just be a little smaller school, Division I school, America East school, but hey, like, and we see it in the basketball tournaments too, is that, hey, anybody can compete with anybody at this level. You know, don't count us out. And, you know, it kind of feels good to know that, hey, like, you know, we can play. We got these guys. You know what I'm saying with that. And I think that's so important. And I think it happens in every sport. You know, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, you know, hockey, soccer, whatever it is. I think that's so important to know that, hey, at the Division I level, everyone's good. You know, it's not just, we got like, you know, like one or two good teams. You know, everyone's good. Everyone can beat anybody on any given day, and that's so awesome. But with you guys have such a tight knit group. How are you guys able to, you know, create that culture of, you know, you bring freshmen and transfers in, whatever, and they buy into their guys' culture and your guys' chemistry, and you guys all get along very well. What do you guys do to, you know, have that such good charisma and chemistry on your guys' team?
Yeah, sure. So I think it definitely helps us that our team is smaller, so the groups of freshmen that are coming in are smaller. So I don't think that they're super overwhelmed, and they're able to create relationships with us. Like, everybody has a relationship with every person on the team, where that might be different for sports like football or track, where their size is just so big. You might not know everyone as well as you want to. But we put a lot of focus into team bonding and just meeting with our coaches and as a team in general, and just talking about our goals and like what is important to us as a team, which I think kind of pushes this culture into the minds of the people that are new, and they can really kind of catch on and figure out what UAlbany softball is all about. I know that like a big thing for our team is just accountability and just being real with one another and not holding back. And it doesn't matter if you're a freshman, a sophomore, and I'm a senior. You have the same right as I do to call me out on something that you might not agree with, and that's just holding me accountable. And I think that the fact that we bring that to the light and echo that there's nothing wrong with that and you shouldn't be afraid to speak up no matter what your class is why we've been able to be so successful in the past. I think that every person on the team, no matter what their class, is a contributing factor to our success. And for people to believe that is what has gotten us to where we've been able to go.
I think that's so important. We talked a little bit this with Anderson on with her team with the volleyball. What do you guys like to do to those pre-COVID, you know, bonding with your teammates? Because it's a little bit harder now, kind of like being able to go and socialize and go do these other things, trying to create your group small, so you know you're not getting the COVID bug or whatever it is. Yeah. What do you guys usually like to do? A couple of things that maybe some other teams might pick up, or maybe even from another school that they can use to, you know, tips and tricks, or even like an incoming volleyball or a softball gal where she will be like, oh, well, this is what they do, and maybe we can implement this to our team. What do you guys do to, you know, activities or whatnot, you know, kind of get-togethers? What do you guys do to create that such good chemistry?
Yeah, we've done a lot in the past. Before COVID, actually, we even did it this year just because it was outside and we were able to. We go apple picking every year as a team, just something casual and comfortable. We do it like right when we get here in the fall, so that the new people can kind of feel their way around everyone and get to meet everyone. This year we also went to Thatcher Park and did a hike, which was really fun. I think it was definitely a challenge to find things that we could do as a team with COVID, obviously, because we couldn't be inside. But we've done team dinners in the past as well, like Super Bowl Sunday stuff. But I feel like our team, we just really enjoy hanging out with one another. So in the beginning, maybe when people are new, we might have to put more of an emphasis on like team bonding. But then as time goes on, spending so much time with everyone, it kind of just happens naturally. And then like I said before, we do a lot of meetings with our coaches and just like team team discussions and like mental meetings, kind of getting inside the minds of our teammates and getting to know them better. I think that has helped us a lot as well, kind of be able to form these connections with all of our teammates.
Yeah, I think so. I think the mental side of the game is so important, and you hit on it a little bit, and getting to know kind of like how each player on your team kind of thinks and whatnot. Well, how do you guys, from the mental side, you guys' game is so mental. We talked a little bit about this on the last, golf is probably just a little bit more mental than it is softball or baseball. But how are you able to deal with the ups and downs through your guys' season, whether it's, performance on the field, performance in the classroom, or even just like, games getting canceled because either COVID, rain delays, because, you're in Albany, New York. The weather's so unpredictable in the spring. You just never know, like, when you're actually going to be able to play and even practice, because there's some years where it's raining or it's even snowing, where it's like, well, we can't even get out on the field because we have to stay inside in the gym, or used to be the bubble. You guys were able to practice in the bubble, not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You got kind of tearing apart.
Yeah.
How are you able to deal with that? Whether it's you or your teammates, how are you guys able to deal with that? Because there's just so many ups and downs and so many unpredictable things that can happen. How do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, so softball definitely is a very mental game. It's a game of failures. You get hit 3 out of 10 times, that's considered great,
Yep.
So definitely learning how to cope with failure is really important. I know I personally, at the collegiate level, have really struggled with the game mentally and finding like some peace or some peace of mind just when you are going through that rut. Like, you're going to go through a slump, you're going to go through stuff, and being able to overcome that. I know for me, I perform best at softball when I'm actually a little bit disconnected from the sport. So I'll go to practice, I'll go to games, I'll give it my all. But when I go home, I don't want to think about softball. I don't want to. My teammates, I have a very unpopular opinion. They love to go home, watch collegiate softball. I will not put it on the TV. I just need a break from it. And that's kind of how I have been able to. The season's long, so it's very easy to get burnt out, especially when you're playing 4 games in a weekend. Like, you're exhausted. So I think with the mental side of it, for me at least personally, is just being able to, like, when I'm at softball, give it 110%, but when I'm not at softball, step away, and that kind of helps me find peace of mind with it, so that I'm not super overwhelmed or like thinking about the times that I failed or the times I struck out or didn't get a hit, because it can become very overwhelming. And just team-wise, I think mentality, we've been really good at just being a support system for one another, and I know that I feel confident going to any of my teammates and being like, I'm really struggling, like, can we talk this out? Like, I don't feel confident in the box, or I'm worried on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to like talk it out is so comforting. And some of my like closer teammates, like Kelly Barkovich, for example, she's our 5th year. She's come back for a 5th year, so she's basically our super senior, and she has so much experience that I think that it's been really good for the underclassmen to kind of see her and her role and everything that she's gone through, and be able to go to someone and just talk about what you're struggling with. Like, you can find so much comfort in that. And I think that that's really helpful in a game like softball or baseball or golf or something like that, being able to know what's going on and talk about what you're struggling with, because at the end of the day, if you keep it inside, it's just going to eat you alive. Yeah.
Do you have any, like, so when you're in a hitting slump or anything, because I played baseball and growing up and stuff, is there anything that you always, like, drills or something that you always go back to, kind of just to make the game more simple again? Because I know when I struggled, is like, sometimes I struggled when I was thinking, and I'm the same way with golf and honestly any sport I've been growing up playing 3 sports. Anytime I was thinking, that's when I was just like, I struggled, or I was in that slump, whatever. So I used to just kind of just take everything back to maybe the one smallest, most basic thing, and kind of just work on that. What do you do to kind of, you said you talked it out. Is there anything, drills or anything like that, you take a different approach to mentally for, from getting in a hitting slump or even a fielding slump?
Yeah, sure. So definitely, when I'm struggling, I'm the same way. Like, when I'm struggling, it's from overthinking, not so much like mechanics, because at the end of the day, like, we're all really good players. So a lot of, I think, what we struggle with is just handling everything that's going on mentally, and that will come out in your performance if you're struggling mentally. So for me, if there's something in particular that I can feel that there's like a hole in my swing or something like that, I'll go back to the tee, going back to basics, working with, whether it be keeping my hands high, short to the ball, stuff like that. I really like to work opposite field when I can, because it helps me keep my hands inside the ball. But also on the other side of that, I really like to meditate. That helps me when I'm struggling. Like, I'll meditate before games and stuff like that, just because like I said, it's a more of an overthinking thing for me when I'm struggling. So when I'm able to meditate, I'm able to like find a little bit of a flow or like a point of focus to kind of get me out of that like crowded headspace. And that's actually really helped me. I picked that up my sophomore year, and I've been doing it pretty much ever since, off and on. But like when I need it, I'm like, all right, I need to go back to meditating.
Meditating. So how are you meditating? Are you like putting on some, kind of like playlist on like whether it's YouTube or any music kind of thing, or is it just kind of just like, all right, let's just turn down the lights and let's just relax and just kind of think what is your meditation that helps you perform the best?
Yeah, so I use an app called Headspace actually, which is like a guided meditation. So I basically just pop headphones in and then find like a relaxed position. And it's really nice because they have different things that you can like pick whatever you're like struggling with, and it will guide you through that. And like different times, because when I first started meditating, I was like, I can't sit in one spot for 20 minutes and like not think about anything. But they have like, you could go 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that's really helped me. So like sometimes if I'm on the bus on the way to a game, I'll just pop it in for 5 minutes, and I just find that like really calming, and then I'm in like a better headspace like going into the game. So that's what I use. I know people, like I've had former teammates who are able to just meditate on their own. I'm not really there yet. I think it's a little bit much to like control your thoughts on your own. I think that that's very tough. So I use guided meditation, but it's worked for me so far, and I really like it.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one actually. I think that's pretty cool to kind of, I don't know, be one with yourself, or kind of just relax. There's when we play a football game, you guys, sport's a little different, but everyone's all rah rah rah, and I'm kind of more of like hey, let's have some fun. Like it's at the end of the day, it's a game.
Yes.
But and I want to win, but hey, like also like we're here to have like fun. Like we enjoy this. This is just we only get so long. Majority of us are only going to get to play in college, and that's as far as we're ever going to get, and that could be anywhere from 3 to 4 more years, depending on your your year and how many eligibility years you have left. And I think that's so important, is to kind of just step back and just kind of relax and let the game come to you, and just play loose.
Yes.
Don't play loose. Don't press. Like and especially I like to tell this to freshmen. It's like, I understand you're nervous. Like I was nervous too, and I screwed up. This is the mistake I made, was I started, like I said, thinking and not just playing, and just play. Go have fun. Don't worry about making mistakes or doing any things, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to change it. Everyone, whether you're a fifth year senior or a freshman, first game starting as a freshman, you're going to make mistakes. So just continue to just play loose, have fun, and just go get after it. Give it your all. Give it 110%, or whatever it is. Just don't do your job, and whatever the role of the team is, whether it's cheering on your team on the bench or on the sideline, or it's putting the ball in play with 2 strikes or whatever, just so you can get a run from third in, or hitting the sacrifice fly, whatever it is. Just do your job and let the game come to you. I think that's just so important, and that's what helps me with any sport, is just kind of let the game come to you, and don't try to press and make stuff happen. I don't know about you.
Yeah, for sure. And what you were kind of talking about before, like with like freshmen being nervous, or no matter what year you are being nervous, I think that a lot of the mistakes or the failures that we face come from this like being scared to make a mistake, and like playing tight because you don't want to mess up. So at the end of the day, like being okay with failure, and like it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but like having a relationship with failure where like it's gonna happen, and like kind of letting it roll off your shoulders, I feel like is gonna have a way better result long term than really fighting failure and being very resistant to it. So yes, I agree.
What's crazy about your sport, and you hit on it a little bit earlier, is that, or even in the MLB or whatever, you make it to the Hall of Fame if you fail 7 out of 10 times. Think about that. You fail you fail about 70% of the time, and you make it to the Hall of Fame. That's considered good. That's what's so crazy about softball, baseball, and even like you can even throw in golf there, where you're shooting on some courses, you're shooting par, or 1 over, and that's technically like that's a good score. Like it's just so like it's so tough, and you gotta kind of, like I said, live with failure, and be able to, it's honestly like the best is going to be your best, but it's, what is your misses? What is your worst of your worst? How can you minimize, those worst of the worst, that bad, that one bad at, oh man, I had that one really bad at bat, trying to minimize those and whatnot. Cause at the end of the day, like if you're a good player, you're going to be able to perform on the field.
Yeah, and something that I've talked to my assistant coach a lot about, she's very big on the mental side, and we talk about looking at failure as a stepping stone of a staircase rather than a pile of bricks laying on top of you. So, for example, if you get up 5 times and you don't get a hit once, but at each at bat you're getting a better contact with the ball, then you're ultimately going in the right direction. So, like, these failures aren't so much failures, they're propelling you to an eventual success. But the downside, or where it might hurt people, is when they're looking at, oh my god, another hit, another at bat where I didn't get a hit, like another at bat, like my batting average is going down and down and down, and then you're just gonna fall down to this hole. You're gonna be in a slump, and you're just gonna be covered in these pile of bricks. Whereas if you're looking at it as, okay, like I got feedback from that at bat, it wasn't great, but I have feedback now. I know what to do in my next at bat. That's gonna, the people who think like that are ultimately gonna be better ball players.
I agree. I think, I understand, like, I'm not a collegiate baseball athlete, but I did have an opportunity to play Division II baseball if I wanted to. But was what I used to do is I never really looked at whether I was 0 for 3 or 4 for 4. Because I could be 4 for 4 and I could hit bloop singles all day long, and I'd consider those, like, oh great, I got a hit, but I didn't have really good contact. Yeah. There's times where I would just smoke one. You smoke one right at the third baseman, shortstop, or you just hit a line out to center field where you just smoked it. You just hit it right at them. Like, I always looked at those as good at bats. I never really looked at, hey, like, oh man, like I'm batting like 500, like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. It was more of like, are over 3 out of 4 times am I having a good AB, and that's what I, good contact, I'm sometimes the pitcher's going to get the best of you. You're going to strike out. It's reality. It's going to happen. Sometimes an ump makes a terrible call. Like whatever it is. It's just like you just got to be able to continue to have good at bats and not worry about, am I getting a hit? Am I hitting a home run? Am I hitting a double or whatever it is? I think it's just more of like, did you have a good at bat, or did you make your play in the field, or if you had a bad at bat, did you roll it over to the next at bat, or did you roll it over to the field and whatever or whatnot? And I think that's so important. Whether you're playing any sport, is whether you make a mistake, do you learn from the mistake and you kind of just like, hey, I'm not going to do that again, or I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again, and you move on from it. Have a short
memory.
Short-term memory, very short-term memory, and are you able to come back? And I always knew that the best players, you seem like, man, that was a terrible swing, terrible at bat, and the next swing or next at bat or next play in the field, they make a great play, or whatever it is. Well, in any sport, you hit a bad shot, or you make a wrong throw, or you just have a bad snap, or whatever it is. Next play, man, you make one heck of a play. I always could tell that those are going to be the players that are going to be good and be consistent over time, just because of they're able to have that short term, and they're able to learn from the mistakes and whatnot. I think that's just so important, especially from a mental side of the game, whether it's not necessarily physical, but just moving on mentally and being mentally strong, which of course you have probably way more mental strength than probably a majority of the people on campus or whatnot, or the sports you play, just because of the mental side of your sport.
Yeah, definitely. And just going off of that, like what you're saying about how having a short-term memory and not letting it carry on to more aspects of the field, something that's really helped me and something I was taught when I was younger was if you're not producing in one aspect of there's 2 aspects of the game. There's the field and the hitting. And if you're not producing in one aspect, give 110% to that other aspect, and that really helps me stay in the game. So if I had a bad at bat, leaving that in the dugout and then running out onto the field and diving for every ball, scooping up every ball, getting every fly ball, just going all out for everything, and that kind of helps me. And I know that some of my teammates are the same, like that helps us stay in the game and kind of refocus on something else, and help our team in some way, shape, or form, even if we're not producing in that other aspect. And I just think that's a good way to kind of stay in the game.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we've been talking a little bit about the mental side and the mental side. How are you able to deal mentally from, you guys travel, might have a midweek game and miss class and whatever, but you're able to balance, your schoolwork, your crazy kind of softball schedule in the spring, which is all over the place. You kind of don't know what it is. It's kind of just is how it is what it is. And then you being on, even on SAC and what other extracurricular activities, how are you able to, balance those two from a mental side? Is there any tips or tricks that you can give or anything that you do that other athletes or anybody else who is dealing with, maybe working two jobs and being a full-time student or whatever it is, how are you able to deal with that?
It's definitely tough. It can be a lot sometimes, but kind of just prioritizing, like I have a list that I'll make every week of things that I have to do or things that are coming up, and just like being able to prioritize my due dates and everything like that just helps me stay organized. And when I feel somewhat organized, I feel calm. So as long as I'm not getting to this point where I'm super overwhelmed by everything, I can normally manage it okay. But just like being on top of everything, and what helps me is laying everything out in front of me. So when I see in a list everything that I have to do, it kind of helps me feel balanced. Like, okay, I know I have a meeting this time and I have an assignment due at this point, so the free time that I have during this day, I have to take advantage of it, just stuff like that. And honestly, when we're traveling, the bus rides really help me because there's nothing else that I can be doing other than really work, unless I'm like watching TV, which is not part of the priority list. So like that, I'm just using that as like, okay, you're on the bus, you have no excuse to not be doing work, so do work. And that kind of helps me as well. That's why I like long bus rides, actually.
Yeah, so you can get so much work done.
Yeah, I feel productive.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think what some people are really able to do is not to get to the overwhelm stage, is kind of the satisfaction of, hey, I got a bunch of stuff I got to do. Let's make a list and let me make myself feel better that, hey, I can break it down. Here's what I got to do each day. Now it doesn't look too bad, but also crossing something off the list. Hey, I got that done. Like, now it's a sense
Feels
of
good.
accomplishment
Yeah.
of whatnot. I'm the complete opposite of you. I kind of just go with the flow, kind of take it day by day a little bit. I don't make a planner. My girlfriend does. Sheridan does make a planner. She has a whiteboard of everything she has to do by the end of the week. All I see is a smile on her face when she crosses off a bunch of stuff on the list. But I think that's if you are struggling with that, and I'm fortunate enough where I really don't have to do that. I'm kind of like the odd man out, because I feel like I feel like I make it harder on myself to like keep up with my work already, but I just get lucky kind of a little bit with that. But I think it's important, and we talked about this with Anderson, is make sure you, first of all, get a planner, get something where you can, or even just a notebook, create a notebook where, all right, here's what I got to do for this week. It's all on your syllabus pretty much of, what they go over in each class and when stuff is due. So, go over that and just plan stuff out, what you got for the week, and when you need to allocate time, create a schedule where, okay, I got practice from, 6 to 8 or, 10 to 12, whatever it is. And hey, that's practice time, whatever it is. And, maybe I have class from, 4 to 6, whatever. Well, after practice, I need to make sure, from that 1 to 2 block, make sure, I make sure I get work done. And after my class, I got to make sure I got to get this done, and just plan your day out. Coach Barber always says, have a plan for your day. When are you going to eat? So figure out when you're going to eat, when you're going to do schoolwork, when you got practice, whatever, and that will help break down each day. So each day you can be, we call win the day. When you can be successful every day, and so you're not taking days off where, and you're sleeping in, I'll just sleep in till, 11, 10 o'clock, and when you have a test the next day or whatever it is where you should be doing work or studying or whatnot, just so you're able to, figure out to allocate time. And nobody's saying it's easy, because being a student athlete is not easy. It's very difficult, very time consuming, being a full-time student and, being full-time, being in season, that's not easy for anybody. And I think that's important to just plan stuff out. And if you're struggling with that, just plan, and just start making just easy lists, nice and easy, and then you can build off from there. Everyone's a little bit different. Everyone likes a little bit different things, you can start creating and making it your own, so.
Yeah, but also I feel like it's important to just know, like, even if you do have a plan, like, the plan isn't foolproof. Like, there will be times where you get overwhelmed. There will be times where a practice time changes and now all of a sudden, like, you're cramming in, like, an assignment at the end. Like, but, like, for me, like, knowing that there are resources, whether it be your teammates, your coaches, the academic staff, your professors, like, there are people there who, like, people are understanding. More often than not, sometimes you will run into those people who or professors who give you a hard time, but like I would be lying if I said I didn't have a mental breakdown every now and then over school and just balancing everything. But like knowing that there are resources there for no matter what you're going through, like if you need to talk to someone or if you just need more time, you need an extension, like it happens. Like you're not going to be perfect all the time.
I think the biggest part, and this is what I learned from working, whether it's in an office or even from our offense coordinator, Coach Davis, is communication. And what I learned from the team is communicate. Just communicate what's going on in your life, because people don't know what's going on. Like they don't know that you're not necessarily know you're a student athlete, or maybe you got a game pushed back, or something kind of crazy kind of happened, like a death in the family or something crazy where you might have a mental breakdown and whatnot. I think it's important to communicate and let people know. They can't help you unless they know. So just being able to communicate those things, I think is so important, because, hey, if you are struggling, hey, reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your teammates. Talk to your coaches. Don't be afraid. They won't judge you. They're only here to help you out. They're not here to say, oh, he reached out, like, what a wuss or something. Like, that's not a thing. Everyone's here to help you, whether it's whatever your goals are, whatever it is you are trying to get to, there's a reason why, you have a support system. Like I said, whether it's your professors, academic staff, coaches, teammates, friends, whatever it is, I think it's important to make sure that you reach out and you communicate with people and just, hey, here's what's going on. Hey, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hardest part of people is their ego, is they're afraid to reach out and they're afraid to ask for help because they're too worried about what other people will think of them. And I think that's what people need to get rid of, is say, hey, who cares what somebody thinks of you? If somebody wants to think that, who cares? Like, it is what it is. Like, just be you. Just be you and ask for help. It's not that hard.
I think also with being a student athlete, like a lot of us are very self-sufficient and we've been able to be resilient and persevere and like overcome things. But sometimes there are things that like you can't do it on your own. And I think that like I know I face this where I'm like, I know I can do it. Like I don't need any help. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. It doesn't make you seem weak. Like asking for help will only help you. So I think that there is kind of like just this preconceived notion. Like I think as a student athlete, like you've been able to overcome so much already and you're faced with adversity. People don't always realize that sometimes you just can't do it on your own and it's okay to ask someone to help you.
Yeah, I agree. So you talked a little bit about going through adversity in your sports, big time adversity, but growing up, how did you get here through probably all of the adversity and whatnot that you probably had to go through to get here? How did Katie get to Albany, and why did she come to Albany? Why, out of all the schools that she could have gone to, why Albany?
So growing up, I actually started out playing baseball for like a while. My dad played baseball in college, and then I ended up switching over to softball just because I was the only girl playing. I didn't really have any friends; they were all boys.
Mm-hmm.
So then I switched over to softball. And then in high school, I actually come from a very small town, so my high school is not competitive at all. Most people on the team were like, oh, like I'm gonna try a sport. Let me try softball. Like first timers. So like we didn't compete very much at the high school level. But I was fortunate enough to land myself onto a travel team that my coach had a lot of connections with college coaches and was able to kind of get us out in front of them. And during the recruiting process, I was mainly looking here. Iona College, Bryant University, schools like that. But I'm from New Jersey. I'm from like 2 hours away, and I just knew I didn't really want to go very far. I'm very close with my family. My sophomore year rolled around. I had never visited a college. They asked me to come here. It was the first school I'd ever gone to, and they offered me a scholarship, and I was like, I've never seen anywhere else. So can I at least like go check out some other places and then get back to you? And they're like super supportive. Sure, but at the end of the day, I just think that Albany had the most opportunities for me to take advantage of, and had the most to offer me, and just had more of what I was looking for. I ended up doing the business program for my undergraduate, and now given a fifth year, I graduated over the winter, and now I'm pursuing my master's. So like I just think that I ended up making the right choice, and just had given me a lot of opportunities that I might not have been granted at other places.
Yeah, what are those opportunities that you were really looking for, in that other schools might have offered that Albany offered?
Yeah, sure. So I really liked the balance of academics and athletics, and what really struck me was when I came here, the coaches had told me, when you come here, you will have the chance to compete for a bid to the NCAA tournament. And I don't think a lot of schools can really say that they have a strong chance of winning their conference almost every year. Not that we win almost every year, but we have a strong chance of winning almost every year. And that really stuck with me because, yes, I did want to have academics. Yes, I wanted to play sport. Yes, I wanted to have playing time. But at the end of the day, I really wanted to compete as well in like both sides, whether it be academics and athletics. And Albany really had that. The other schools that I was looking at didn't really have that reputation. Like they were like, we have a program, it's decent, but we don't really win. And I really like this like competitive culture that Albany has, where like every year you come in with a mission to win, and you know that it's feasible. And I really like that.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about your major, your business major. So is there any specific field that you're getting your master's, and we'll finish that up here pretty soon, but is there any sort of specific like job field that you're looking to go to? Granted, like, not everyone's going to make it to the next level or whatnot, but like, is there been any thoughts of you had any internships or whatever that's been able to kind of give you like a grasp on what you want to do prior to softball?
Yeah, so I actually wanted still work in sports. I'd love to work in professional sports if possible, but I really love working with people as well. And at first, when I started my business degree, I was a marketing major and concentration, and that road kind of took me down like to sales, and I'm not really big into sales. Like I wasn't very good at it, wasn't really into it. Now what I'm looking at is more of like a community engagement, social responsibility side of things. So in the professional sports world, if I were to land a position there, it would be more of like connecting players and using their platform to make a difference in the community, whether it be like volunteering or like with their social responsibility initiatives. And I just think that it's so cool that athletes, they have this platform, and yeah, they're famous, yeah, they are on TV, cool, but like what they can do to make a difference in the world that they're in, I think that's really powerful. I had an internship at Yankee Stadium 3 summers ago, and I was more in the hospitality side of things, so like food and beverage, but I really liked that because I was customer facing, so I got to work with all of the fans and like all of the people in the concession stands, and just like get to meet some really cool people and learn more about their backgrounds and be exposed to people that I hadn't really been exposed to in the past. And then this upcoming summer, I'm going to intern with a minor league baseball team in my area called the Bridgewater Patriots, or the Somerset Patriots, I'm sorry. So I'm really excited for that. And that's kind of just like a stepping stone right now. I don't know like exactly where it's going to lead. I feel like professional sports it's a competitive industry. Yeah. So any opportunities that are open, like I'm pretty much just jumping on them. So, but that's like, if I could pick to do whatever I wanted in life, I would want to like be able to do some sort of like community engagement with a professional sports team. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, hold that thought, but let's go a little, not 180, but a little sidetrack. You talk a little bit about your community engagement. So you're on the head of the community engagement for SAC. Can you talk a little bit about what SAC does and what you do, for the community engagement with SAC? And so tongue twister.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the volunteering that we do, for SAC, for people who don't know, is basically like the student athletes that are in SAC are liaisons between the student athlete community and athletic administration within the school. So we're kind of the go-between, and we bring up any issues or just like discuss different initiatives that we are passionate about and want to bring to the table, or things that we want to do for the different teams on campus. So as far as the community engagement side, we do a lot of volunteering, which I think is great because, like I said, being student athletes, like we have this platform, and I think that it's really important that we take advantage of it and make a difference where we can. So some of the things that we've done, like pre-COVID in the past, is like volunteering at the soup kitchen, the food pantry. We collect cans every year to donate to the food pantry. We go to the elementary schools and we read books to the kids, and that's one of my favorites. They really just love. They feel a connection with us because a lot of the kids, they play sports when they're younger. So when there's a little boy in the classroom and he plays baseball, and one of the baseball players on campus comes in and says, "Yeah, I'm on the Albany baseball team," like they're starstruck. They think it's so cool, and it's just really cool to kind of build that relationship with them. We do a lot of other things as well, like the Spread Respect campaign that's really big in the America East. We run a lot of events for that, and Better Together is kind of a new development that came, I want to say, my sophomore year, which places an emphasis on mental health, the mental health stigma within athletics, and we kind of bring awareness to that. So we do a lot. With COVID, it's been tough. We've been collecting can tabs to raise money for the Ronald McDonald House lately, just because that's a way that people don't all have to be together to make a difference. And then with the readings, now we're doing virtual readings, so we're like hopping on Zoom and reading to the kids, which is different. And it's not as fun for us because we like to have that face-to-face interaction, but they still get a lot out of it and they really like it. So
Yeah, for somebody who might be interested in SAC, how can they join SAC? At, let's just say even UAlbany, somebody who might not never heard of SAC before. If they're interested, how can they get involved in SAC?
Yeah, sure. So honestly, you don't even have to be a member of SAC to like be a part of it. But if you were interested in joining SAC, every team has a liaison or has a SAC member. So you would just have to ask around and find who that is on your team. And then if you let them know, we are welcoming. In the past, we had only done a certain amount of representatives, but there's power in numbers. So the more the merrier at this point. We're welcoming anyone. So if you just reach out to your SAC rep from your team and say that you want to be part of it, you can join. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so everyone who's on the football team or anything, I am the SAC rep for the football team here, and Katie's one of the many reps of the on the softball team. You guys are very involved, which is awesome stuff. You guys do power your voice. So we'll switch back gears into the professional, community engagement with professional sports. Why professional sports? What has been your kind of thought process to why you want to be in that professional sports, even the sports world in general? Why do you enjoy that so much?
Well, obviously sports have been a part of my life for pretty much ever, and I really just love the competitive and like fast-paced nature that it has. Like I want to be on my toes when I'm working. Like I want to be in like a situation where like I have a lot going on. Like I like to be busy. But not only that, but I think that sports is just like, it's an industry that really brings people together. And I think that that's really powerful. And like you go to a baseball game and like all the fans are just having a good time. Like everybody who is watching sports is doing it for enjoyment purposes. And I think that it's cool to work in an industry where you're bringing people together and like forming these connections with people. And at the end of the day, you're making a difference on their lives, whether like no matter what part of the industry you're working in, whatever department, at the end of the day, you're impacting someone else more or less in a positive way.
Yeah, you talked about you were working for the Yankees and now you're, is it AA or single A, triple A? Double A affiliate.
Somerset Patriots.
And do you know what they're affiliated?
With the Yankees.
The Yankees?
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty sweet. So AA affiliate with the Yankees. Is baseball or something like that, is that something you're more passionate about because you played baseball growing up and you are in softball now and they're very close related sports? Is that something you probably be like the number one sport that you'd like, hey, like if a job opportunity came up that would be something you would jump at?
Yeah, I think that baseball definitely resonates with me more, and I'm able to relate to it more. And not only like the players in the game, but like the fans as well, because I'm a baseball fan. So if I like had a choice, I would definitely go baseball number one, just because I have way more experience within the realm of baseball than any other sport. I think football is really cool as well. It's also like a big scale game. Basketball, I don't know. I'm not really a big basketball person, but baseball or football, I would really like. Yeah.
You have favorite? You Yankees fan then?
Yes,
Or are you
huge
okay.
Yankees fan.
Huge Yankees fan.
Yes.
Yeah, have you been following them here?
I've been watching. They're doing okay right now. Usually my parents will go, like, I haven't been able to go because I'm always here playing softball, but my parents will go and watch, like, the spring training and stuff, and it's just so cool. And I love, working at Yankee Stadium was amazing. Just the atmosphere was electric every night. Like, and you know how New Yorkers are, so it's just a fun environment, you know?
Yeah, I can't stand the Yankees.
No!
Sorry, I'm
Who
not
do
a
you
Yankees.
like?
I'm a Rockies fan, but they're
Okay,
not
I
very
thought
good.
you were going to say Mets or Red Sox.
No,
so.
no. I don't think I could be either or of those fans either. Anyways, so my teams, you guys have 27 championships. The Rockies have 0. So I can't really
so
talk.
you're a fan of the underdog.
I guess so. They're a relatively new team. They were I think 98 or is either maybe 90. I can't remember. I think it was 98 is when. So they're a relatively new team.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to go out there and go watch a game. Go watch in Coors Field. I've heard it's a really cool place to go watch. But you have a favorite football team then? Then you're a Giants or Jets fan? Are you going to? You're in New Jersey, so are you gonna go back down to Philly, or are you still stay in New York?
No, I live right by MetLife Stadium, so I'm a Giants fan, but like I enjoy watching the game of football, but I'm not like personally invested. I feel like in a team, like
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch, like whoever's on TV, I'll watch, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll know what's going on, and like I'll enjoy the game. But like if the Giants win, great. If they don't, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
So if the Jets win, you're okay with
Yeah,
them?
it's fine.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. I completely understand that. It's really, I went to MetLife Stadium. I think it had been 2 years ago, maybe last year. I can't remember when it was. But I felt like their atmosphere in their stadium compared to like going to like a Mets or Yankees game, which I've never been to, but like going to their games rather than the baseball games, it was completely different. It was kind of more like the stadium wasn't really filled. Yankees and City, that their stadiums are always packed.
Yeah.
They're always rowdy fans, whatever, and it's a lot different for the Giants and the Jets, which probably why, because they haven't been very good, ever since kind of Eli made a Super Bowl run. The Jets haven't been good for instance, late.
Yeah, a while.
It would have been around the 2010, 2008, 2009 would have been when the Jets made the AFC Championship game. So, it was just an interesting part to, which is kind of what you're going into the community engagement is reaching out to the community and kind of creating a relationship, with the players or even just the organization with the fans or even just the local people to, because it's so important. You're right. With sports, it brings everyone together. It doesn't matter what color you are, what nationality, where you come from, or wherever it is. Sports bring everyone together, and you see it. I think it's more prevalent with like bigger teams and other sports, especially with my sports. We got every color, every nationality, a bunch of different religions, whatever it is. But we all have a similar goal, and we all get along together, and we all, I think, create a good chemistry within our team. And that's what I think is just so great about sports is, and I think that was so important around the COVID is to get sports back to going because, America needs sports.
Yes.
I think my heart just like hurt when everything got canceled and there's nothing on. I was like, what do I watch on TV? Like I remember the draft was on, and that was like the only thing that was on, and I was just like so happy to like have something on that was like sports related or anything like that.
They had reruns on though. I was watching like MLB reruns, like old games.
It's not the same though.
It's not the same, but it was something.
It is something. Like it's like you watch like some of the like the Super Bowl games or whatever, big games like in the playoffs or even like last year, which are fun to go watch. But it's like, like I said, America needs sports, and I think it was good to have some of the other teams in the NFL. And now that some of the MLB teams are allowing fans into the stadiums, which I think is awesome because, like I said, I hope maybe this summer I'll go see a Yankees, Mets game or even a Red Sox game, whatever, just to find a weekend, whatever it is to go watch just because I just enjoy. I kind of miss playing baseball. I've grown up playing it all my life, and I'm not really around the game anymore. It's kind of like I lost it a little bit. I wish I could have got the opportunity to play, but I think it's still great that I'm playing football and doing whatever or whatnot, and I think hopefully eventually I can give back to the game, which gave me a lot. I think would help me with my mental side of the game. Baseball kind of provided that with me.
Yeah, I think also like a really cool side of like professional sports or professional baseball in particular is that it's more than a game. It's also like it's about the experience, whether you're a player or a fan. Like everyone's getting something out of it. And like I think back to like growing up, we would, my parents and my grandparents would take me to baseball games all the time, and like just having those memories, I think for a lot of kids is what like creates this value for the game, is that like it's deep rooted in themselves from like memories of growing up, and it brings out the enjoyment of it. Even if you don't love baseball, like you might love going to a game and getting a hot dog with your grandpa or something like that, and like that creates this like bond that a lot of people have with the sport, and I think that's really cool, whether you're athletic or not.
Exactly. I mean, even like with football, like the couch quarterbacks or the couch coaches telling people to throw or whatever it is, or like, oh man, like, you should have hit that, or like done whatever. But I think that's just like so important, because people are just, fans are stand for fanatics. They're fanatics about the game or whatever it is. But also, like I said, you creating that relationship with maybe people who aren't necessarily fanatics, or maybe even like people who are like kind of skeptical about the game, and so they get go to a game and then they're hooked on it forever. I think that's important, because it provides an outlet. Like when you go watch a baseball game, or you go watch a football or basketball game, whatever sport you go watch or go play, it's an outlet to kind of relieve stress, or even just like block out whatever's going on in your life. That's what I love about sports so much, is that whatever's going on in your life, whether you're having the greatest day of your life, the worst day of your life, or whatever it is whatever's going on in your life outside of that sport, when you go play that sport, you can just go out there and you can just go play.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to think about like, man, like what about this, or like what about this big life decision or whatever. When I go play sports or go watch sports, like everything kind of just like drifts off, like reality kind of just like goes away. I'm kind of just in the sport.
It's like a release.
It's like it's an awesome release that I'm gonna have to figure out after I'm playing sports, how to figure out how do I find this other spot to release that kind of like schoolwork or whatever it is going on in my life, to kind of release all that stress or anger, whatever, or whatever it is, whatever it is. I think that's gonna be tough for me to figure out.
Yeah,
when I'm able to do that.
For me at least, because I think that sometimes, even because we're student athletes and like it's almost like a job at this point to play, like they're bringing you here, our coaches are bringing you here to play, and everyone wants to perform, so at the same time, while there are these days where softball or whatever sport you're playing, it might be that release or that like cathartic feeling that you need, that I feel like there are also some days where the sport can be your stressor. At least I've experienced that, and I've found that like working out in the gym or just like lifting has been like a really good way, where you're still like doing something athletic, you're moving your body, but at the same time it's just you and you're not worrying about all these other factors. And I've found like that maybe that could work for you after.
Yeah, I do understand that, because people do get burnt out, or even like I said, people press too much about certain things. They kind of just like, I need to do well, I need to do this, I need to do that. I was kind of like that a little bit, like freshman year or whatnot. Now kind of looking back, now it's kind of more of like I get the opportunity to go play. It's not kind of like I don't take, like it is a job, like I understand that, like no matter what sport you're playing, it's very time consuming and whatnot. It's almost acting like it is a job, but like I kind of take the approach as like, this is something I get the opportunity to go do. Only so many people have ever played, college sports in general. Even it's even smaller at the Division I level, which is just I'm so grateful to have that opportunity. And I kind of just like, after I kind of reflected and looked back, it's like, man, like I'm so lucky that I get to be able to play something I love so much, where this isn't forever. Like I get the opportunity to play after high school. Only so few get to be able to play, and I'm one of the few to ever get to play that sport after high school, which I think is just so cool.
Yeah, and I think COVID really like gave a lot of people that feeling, or like that idea that you're talking about. Like I know for us, like we were like a few weeks into season, or like a week or two into season, and it got taken away. And I think now looking at the season when things do get hard, or like you don't want to go to lift, you don't want to go to practice, I think that we all kind of remind each other like, hey, like, remember when it got taken away and you weren't allowed to play? Like, remember that feeling? And thinking back on it, you're like, no, you're right. Like, I'm excited and I'm lucky to be able to be here and like play my sport and do what I love to do. And I think that while COVID sucked, that was kind of like the silver lining that a lot of people got to reflect and realize how important certain things in their lives were.
So I think also it happens with like injuries and stuff like that. Somebody gets hurt or something, God forbid something happens to them where, they're out for a significant amount of time, or, something like that, where they have to take a step away from like they're still around the game, but they're not like participating more or less and I've seen this with like even players on my team where they've got hurt and, they're a brand new player coming back because, they change their perspective on like this ain't forever, like this is I'm lucky to be able to get to play, and I never know when this is ever going to end, God forbid something ever happened. I think that's such an important approach to take to that, to your sport.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about, you going to your travel team, be able to expose. Now that you're in college, do you still be able to play in some travel? Are you doing some summer league and stuff? Because I know a lot of the baseball players, where I knew growing up, is that in college they'd go play in like the Cape Cod League or these other leagues around the country, or the Woodback College League or whatever it is. What do you do for softball to kind of stay on top of stuff during the summertime after your season's over with?
Yeah, so my travel team, I'm actually pretty young for my grade. So my freshman year, I had just turned 18, like midway through my freshman year. So that summer after, I was able to go back and play with my travel team if I had wanted to, and I played a few weekends here and there. But after that team that I was on is only 18 and under. So at that point, after, I couldn't play with them. There are leagues around, but just because of internships and like jobs that I hadn't had the opportunity to like fully commit to playing softball like outside of school, so like over the summer. But I do things like on my own. So I have a hitting coach at home that I'll go to like weekly, or there are places at home like batting cages where I could just go on my own, because I think that at this point with me and a lot of my teammates, we're at the age and like the experience level where like we know ourselves pretty well, where it's not like in the off season, it's not that we need to be like super coached, maybe like tweaked here and there, or like just refined, or like refine our skills a little bit more. So I feel like I take the summer more to just work on things that my coaches have given me from the season before, not reinvent the wheel or anything. And then the fall, we have the fall where we play some games, and that's kind of our like preseason in a sense, I guess, because it's not like a full-on season, but we do get to play games. So the summer's more of a little bit of like a rest period where I'll work here and there, but nothing too much, because like you said, burnout's real, and I think that for me at least, if I'm playing too often and too much, like I just need to step back from the game, and the summer's kind of like the time when I do that.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think it's also important to kind of figure out the right balance between, doing too much and not doing enough.
Yeah.
And there's always, I think the line's always moving, because I think it all depends on what your goals are, I think in life, or what your goals are in the sport. I think it's going to take, for example, my sport, if you want to make it to the NFL, or even basketball guys want to make it to the NBA or whatever it is, I feel like there's a line that you need to, there are guys who have just God-given, the people who just have God-given talent, and they're going to be able to make it to the next level just based off their talent. But there are a lot of us who don't have that, God-given talent, that we're going to have to work that much harder just so we are equal, or if not a little bit worse than that person with God-given talent. So I think it's also dependent on what your goals are and what you're willing to, put in, because I think if you put in too much and you're not ready for it, or you're not, it's not something you love to go do, I don't think it's worth you wasting your time and burning out and saying, well, I don't like this anymore, like this isn't for me. Maybe, tone it back just a little bit, not saying like tone it back, and when I mean like not working hard or doing, I'm not more talking about doing extra stuff,
Yeah.
doing extra stuff that, you know, is not required of you to go do. I think that all of us do that, as student athletes. I think majority of us do that, but also I think like there's some people who might just barely get by with the minimum, and then you have people who are constantly doing these other things, which I think is also just finding where you're at on that spectrum, and what you feel, comfortable or okay with, where you're not just like, oh man, like I don't even know if I want to play today or whatever it is. I don't know about what it is for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's why it's really important to kind of like check in with yourself and where you're at, and what you said, what your goals are, and where you are before like embarking on this endeavor or whatever, to like go out and improve yourself. And it's also important to understand that there's other things that you can work on if you need a break from the game, or like hitting specifically in general, because that's very mental, and I understand that, where sometimes it's just becomes a lot and you just need a break. But there are other things that you can work on, whether it be your nutrition, your cardio, your endurance, physical strength. Those are other things that are gonna contribute to your game, while kind of taking away from like the entire field of like softball or your sport, and they're gonna benefit you in the long run too. So if you kind of need to step back from the game, as long as you're doing these other things and not dropping the ball completely, I think that there's still ways to improve without being honed in completely on your sport in particular.
Yeah, I think also another thing that I like to do, I don't know if you like to do this, but like I like to have hobbies, different type of hobbies. Like mine is like I'll go golfing, like I don't need to go golfing, but it's just nice to have that extra hobby to go, like I said, with even like with sports or whatnot. Sometimes like I said, sports, you kind of take it as a job, or you're pressing or doing whatever. Being able to go do something else that you enjoy, whether it's like honestly, some people enjoy partying. Like, pre-COVID, like that's okay. Like you can go party. Like what, if that helps you relieve stress and helps you play. I think that's something beneficial, to doing that. Now, putting different substance in your body is a different story, but going and hanging out with your friends and partying and having a good time, I think, some people need that. Some people are those, I'm an introvert. Some people are extroverts who need to have that. And I think that's important. And just finding what you enjoy outside of, we're all athletes, but at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all people. We're not just athletes. We're more than just, athletes. We're members of society. We're people. We can make changes in our community, whatever it is. But finding that outside hobby to, help relieve stress from your sport, and kind of just like, just whatever it is. Because I grew up playing 3 sports, so those were all my hobbies. Playing football, baseball, basketball, which was just nice to have, because you'd move one to the next to another, and it would just be kind of just a rotation where you'd be playing for a while, and then it would take you about 1 or 2 weeks to get into the next sport, where you'd be back in shape or whatever it is to those other sports. So I think finding those things where you're staying busy, and you're finding those other hobbies where you can help relieve that stress from your sport, or whether it's like, and also like schoolwork, helping relieve from schoolwork as well. I think that's important as well.
Yeah, I think also it's important to kind of like find those hobbies or like points of interest, because for majority of us after college, like athletics aren't going to really be a huge part of our lives. Whether it's just like recreational, that's fine, but like competing at like a collegiate or professional level after school isn't going to be around. So if you don't have these hobbies, this lack of an identity, it could be harmful. And I think that just finding other things that you enjoy, because if you solely are focused on finding enjoyment from athletics, and then it all of a sudden comes to an end, that's a tough pill to swallow, and I feel like a hard transition to make post college.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about with Nick Burns, who just graduated, and I talked about like filling the void. Like we have, you play sports all your life, play for about 20 years of your life. We'll just put that, around that number. You play it for that long, and finally you're done. Like you can go play, your softball, or like for my sport, I can't really go like play football anymore, competitively, or other stuff, like do stuff like that. I think being able to fill that void with whatever it is you enjoy, whether that's reading or a TV show or something. I don't know, whatever it is that you enjoy, like somebody who's like a movie enthusiast or something like that, where they can find that time to kind of just like find that hobby, find something that you love, because we're all here because we love our sport.
Right.
Like we're here because we love our sport. We love what we do. So, like whether it's, you find that perfect job, and I can't tell that to everyone. I wish you could be like, oh, you could find that perfect job that you love so much that like, you're about willing to do whatever it is and whatnot. But not everyone's going to get the opportunity to do that. There's just not enough, give and take and whatnot. So you need to also find that hobby or something that you really enjoy to help you fill that void, post whatever, sports, even like post school, like whether it's like, oh, I can't really go out and party anymore. What can I find? Through your life, you're always evolving. You're always changing. There's always something different going on in your life. Your life is so interesting because it's never the same thing over and over again. It's constantly changing. You're constantly getting thrown curveballs at you that you need to figure out, choke up, put the ball in play, whatever it is, the baseball, softball analogy there, curveball's coming right at you. Don't strike out, put one in play, give yourself a chance.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think that can be a tough adjustment, but I think that's why, like we were talking about before, those hobbies and just like putting them in your mind like beforehand, it can kind of help in the transition.
Yeah, I think so too. But going back a little bit, talking about your softball and whatever, what's it like having, in this COVID year, first getting your stuff shut down, but having all these sports play in the spring where, and I don't think anybody talks about this, where how for me this didn't make any sense, is you guys got canceled in the spring. Well, there's no ever push to have you guys play in the fall. All the fall sports got canceled. Now we're trying to push them to the spring.
Yeah.
Like it's unfortunate that's how the approach was taking, for all those, fall sports, where they're trying to just jam them all in there instead of just being like, except for you guys where you just kind of just got cut off. How did you feel about that? Because I just thought that was so interesting that there was no push for anything, and it's probably unfortunate because of, you can't just say, oh, we'll just play football or whatever it is, which I think that's unfortunate. Like I think that's how schools kind of run, is they, have to have some sort of revenue from that football, whatever it is, or whatever that major sport is. How'd you feel about that?
I mean, I understood, and I also think that it ended up working out better because if we were to have gotten our season pushed to the fall, COVID was still around, like it wouldn't have been what we would have wanted it to be. And we got that opportunity of a fifth year, and I think that for me at least, I was able to find a silver lining in that, in the sense that, okay, well, now I'm pursuing my master's. Now I'm doing something else. I'm on a new path, or I'm being exposed to new opportunities that if this had not happened, maybe I would not have been able to beforehand. It was very tough, though. I think having all the sports together and the bubble popping, like we were dealt like a tough hand, I think, with just facilities, and like the weather was not great in the beginning, so we were in the gym a lot and just battling with having everybody all together. Was really tough, and like I said before, we didn't get to go down to Florida, which we normally do, and like play on dirt before our first game. Before our first game, we'd maybe been on the field for 1, maybe 2 days, so like we hadn't even seen ground balls, and that was really a tough adjustment for us. And just like it was just the way the cookie crumbled at the end. I mean, I don't think that there could have been really, with COVID and everything, like a better solution. It just happened, and I think that at the end of the day, it made us more resilient, and it's going to make us a tougher team.
Yeah, I think so too. So you talked about you guys going down to Florida, and you guys probably play a lot of the other southern schools who are able to kind of go out year round and not really have to worry about kind of going in a gym or whatever it is. Maybe they just go in the gym because it's raining outside, not because of the weather or whatnot. Do you guys feel like you're at a disadvantage, or do you guys take, I know we talked about the golf gals where they said, well, we're going to take it to them because we're going to show them that, hey, just because we are inside a simulator for the past 4 or 5 months, we're going to show that we're just as good. We don't need to necessarily be outside to compete at the top level. What's your guys' approach, and what do you guys, what do you do to, what's your mentality to, because you guys aren't outside, very much, because of the weather and whatnot.
Right. I think that when we go down and play those tournaments in the warmer weather in the very beginning, I think that, at least for me personally, I kind of look at it as an opportunity for us to grow together as a team. I don't think that the W is as important as, like, the way that those games will help us when we get to conference play. And, like, obviously, like, those games I feel like is when we're kind of the most exposed as to, like, the holes in our game, the bumps that, like, we haven't been able to iron out beforehand. But without those, like, tough games or, like, failures in those games, like, we're not going to be the team that we need to be down the road. And you don't want to be performing your best in the very beginning. You want to be performing your best towards the end of the conference, during the conference tournament. So I don't think that as a team that we go into those tournaments thinking, like, yeah, like, we want to win every single game. But I think we go in more as, like, listen, like, we're not at our best. Stuff is going to happen, but we're not going to let that affect us mentally or physically as a team. Like, we're going to push through, and we're going to become a better team at the end of the day, and we're going to come out of this tournament or this weekend better than we were when we started it.
Yeah, that's. Do you guys feel like those trips? We talked a little about early in the podcast, the chemistry part. Do you think those plane rides, or even just like spending in a hotel for like a weekend or whatever it is, helps you guys come closer together? And honestly, the warm weather, the beach weather, I don't care what anybody says. The weather is a factor, and I think in people's moods. The day is, it's raining. Like today, it is raining, soggy outside. Dark clouds. In Albany, it's really hard to see the sun for 5 months out of the year. It's like kind of just like dark and gloomy. But is that a big factor into your guys' chemistry and your team bonding at the earlier part? Like you said, help you guys grow?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. And I remember my freshman year when we first went down to Florida, I was so nervous, but like going down and just being with your teammates and like them kind of like helping you along, I think is really helpful. And you just, when we go down to Florida, we get to do kind of like more fun things than like we normally would be doing like in conference play. So like they'll give us a day where we can like go on the beach or like go explore like the downtown Madeira Beach area, and like those are really fun, and like you're with your teammates and you're just walking around hanging out. And I think that in those like casual settings is when you really form like the like best connection with your team. Team bonding's great, but I feel like it's a little bit forced. And when you're in those like more comfortable settings, whether it be like whatever teammate you're rooming with in your hotel room, it's just the walls are down and it's just like casual and comfortable. And I think that that's really when like the team connection, the team chemistry is built.
Yeah, you come back with a little nice tan too.
Yes, you do. Except you get a farmer's tan because you're wearing New Jersey, so it's white from here up and then tan from there down. But we'll take what we can get.
That's all my tans are. It's a nice farmer's tan. I don't really take my shirt off very much. I always crack a joke with all my teammates. We're running in the summertime, and everyone's like, we're already like half. We're not even half. We're already just warming up, and people are already taking their shirts off. I'm like, guys, we haven't even warmed up yet. What are you guys doing now? What are you guys doing already? But I can't really get tan. I just get nice and red.
Yeah.
Just a little redneck. Mm-hmm. I guess that's what they call me. Is it's fun. I remember we went down for in high school. We had a basketball tournament. We'd have like a weekly, or like it was like 5 days, I think, at Disney, a basketball tournament. That was really fun. It was kind of funny because we ended up winning the state championship, and it's like after everyone wins the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, we're going to Disney World, So that's really like a couple days after we won the state championship, there was a couple of the football guys on the basketball team. Oh, we're going to Disney World, and it's like I didn't really play much, but it was kind of fun because I was able to kind of experience that and whatnot, the Florida heat, and it was in December, so it wasn't too hot.
Still compared to where
is way better than the snow. I remember getting back on the flight and just snowing and cold. I'm like, yeah, why did I leave? I bet you guys feel the same way. It's
yeah.
And you kind of get like, it's only like 40 degrees, man. It's freezing up here,
Well, it's really tough, I feel like, too, when we go down and we play and we have like a great weekend, and it feels so good to be back on the dirt, and then you come back to Albany and then you're just back in the gym, and that's like, I feel like that's really tough. That's like usually those first 3 weeks. It'll be like back and forth with going down somewhere down south, whether it be like Virginia, South Carolina, Florida. Florida's obviously better because it's warmer, but whichever place we're at, we're on the dirt, and then you come back and you're back in the gym, and it's just like, it's tough because you're like in between two places.
Yeah,
So.
do you have a favorite place, like favorite tournament, like a favorite weekend, like where you gotta have like at least one where just like it kind of like was better than the others?
Yeah. Well, I just feel like in general with the entire season, I know a lot of my teammates agree with me. We love playing at Binghamton. I don't know. Well, they have a very nice field, and also for like not my sophomore year, but my freshman year and many of the years before that, the conference tournament had been at Binghamton. So I feel like that field kind of just has like those vibes, like tournament vibes, and it's just like very exciting, and like they have a beautiful field, and it's just like a fun place to play. But then in the tournaments that we go down south, I'd say Madeira Beach is my favorite, just because like it's the same thing every time where we go, we play, and then we kind of get to explore the town a little bit, and it's nice to have like the like downtime, I think, with it, and like those experiences as well.
What do you guys usually like exploring? Like, is it just like, let's go to the beach, or like let's go shopping, or
well, they'll give us options usually. So like when we're down there, we'll be in vans, so they'll be like,
okay,
whoever wants to go to the beach, this van. If you want to go, like they have like a little downtown area with like shops and restaurants and stuff like that. And like, if you want to go here, you're in this van, and you can basically just pick. But I prefer just like the town vibes, like just to like walk around and like the warm weather, just hang out with my friends. I do like the beach, but Madeira Beach I feel like is like, it's one of my favorite places, so I'd rather be in like the town while I'm there.
I'm not a beach person.
No, I like the beach. I like the Jersey Shore a lot. LBI is my favorite. I'm not like, I feel like there's like this like, would you rather beach or like lake house? I'm much more beach. A girl on our team, or 2 girls on my team actually, Alexis and Kelly, they both have lake houses, and we've been, and just like, I don't know, I think the Jersey Shore is better. I think I prefer the Jersey Shore.
Yeah. Do you ever get the jokes? Oh, you're from New Jersey?
Yeah, so many, and like all of the like driving jokes, like Jersey Shuffle. Like I think Jersey drivers are better than New York drivers though, but everyone here will tell me that I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't like anybody driving the Northeast. They're too crazy for me. Like, it's
That's
just like,
what they say about us, that we're too crazy.
yeah, you guys are too mean. You guys will be honking on the
laying
horn.
on the horn, yeah.
Y'all will be laying on the horn, doing whatever, man. I'm just trying to have a nice day. I don't need a nice little honk on the horn, man. Like, I remember my family moved out from Oregon to like just Pennsylvania, and the first day my mom's driving me to school, and she gets laid on the horn like 3 times. We're like, people are a bunch of weirdos here. They're just mean, man. They're just mean.
I feel like it's the pace. I don't know. I feel like in Jersey the pace is a little bit faster than upstate New York, but I'm also right by the city, so that's very fast paced as well. But like one of my teammates, Alexis, she's like, we'll be driving and someone will be in front of us. I'm like, honk at them, honk, and she's like, no, I don't want to honk. And I'm like, why honk at them? But it's just
give
different.
a little honk. Like, not, I'll give them, if there's somebody at the light and they've been sitting there for a little bit, I'll just like a little
tap.
Always tap. You know,
I'm
not
laying on it.
Of course. All right, Katie. Again, thanks for coming on the show here. I had a great time talking to you and get to know your experiences, especially with your team and whatnot. And I've been getting a lot of questions from a lot of people about why I created this podcast. I created this podcast I think it's fun to enjoy, like, for especially Katie's story, even all the guests I've had on, just to get to know them and get to learn from them. People who I might not really interact with just because we're completely different sports or whatnot. And so I just think that that's really important. But I think it's also important for like Katie, for example, where she's on the softball team where she might not get as much exposure as, for example, like me or somebody like Tahoka or somebody else who's on the lacrosse team from different media outlets. So again, I think that's important to hear Katie's story and hear what she enjoys, what's her hobby, what, not just she's a softball player or whatnot. I think that's important for people to know. We're all student athletes, but we're all people, we're all humans. We all have flaws, we have stuff we like to do. We're all very similar, and I think that's important to hear our voice and whatnot. And again, Katie, thanks for coming on. It was definitely a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I think it's great that you're doing this and just having these conversations, and whether they're casual or talking about different topics. I think that it's really important just for us to use our platforms, and I think that it's awesome that you're doing this.
Well, thank you, Katie. I really appreciate you coming on. And guys, if you guys want more content and whatnot, and you want the latest episodes on the TO show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And again, guys, thanks for all the support over these past couple months. We're going to keep the ball rolling, keep hearing great stories like Katie's and whatnot, and from all different student athletes. But again, thanks, guys, and thanks, Katie, for coming on. We'll see you guys next week. See you.